Hello and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to seam up your blocks for the Crochet Stitch Sampler Baby Blanket, which is a free pattern available over at marleybird.com. Today's video is sponsored by Red Heart, and we have used Red Heart with love for all of the blocks in this video. And I'm telling you, it is just so nice to finally get to this point in the whole project, and I'm sure all of you feel the same way. You have worked on 9 different blocks, learning 9 different stitch patterns, and you have learned how to wet block and to steam block, and you've chosen either one of those to block your squares. And now it's time to decide if you are going to go ahead and trim the squares all the way around with a single crochet, or leave them as is and join them together. So look down here, and we're going to take a peek at what it looks like if we were going to leave them as is, and then we'll take a look at how it would look if we did a single crochet around the edging. As you look down here, you can see I have the bobble stitch square and the fan trellis square, and they are just the perfect size. I've blocked them. You guys saw that in the blocking video, and everything is ready to be seamed together. Now I can decide now if I want to do a mattress stitch seam all the way up along the edge here, which is what I would choose to do if I were you guys, or I could do a slip stitch seam or a single crochet seam if that's something you like to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. Or I can decide, you know what, I really don't want to mess around with working these edge stitches like that on the grand scale of joining it to the other block. I would much prefer if I did just an edging around the whole thing of single crochets and had them match up just like this. So if these two, this one is the fantail and this one is the basket weave, I finished little squares of each, and then I went around twice, 2 rounds with single crochets all the way around. Now you can see, look at that, there's those nice V's all the way along the edge, all the way around the whole piece, and it would be really easy to do the mattress stitch, do the lace-up stitch, or do a single crochet or slip stitch join, whatever you choose. This just makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more dummy proof to get things done, right? It just makes it look really pretty. You can choose either way you want when you're working on your blocks. Remember that when I talked to you in the seaming video, I said that right after you, or not the seaming video, the blocking video, right after you block your squares, that's when it's a good time to add your single crochet edging, if that's what you're going to do before your large seaming together project. So if you have decided to go ahead and do that, great, you're ready to move on. If you have not decided to do that, but you're thinking maybe I should do it now, one little tip I want to offer to you is if you make the single crochets along the edges the same number for all the blocks, it will make it really easy for you to seam the blocks together, because it'll be one single for one single, right? So to do that, one thing you can do is use your stitch markers. We've been using stitch markers throughout the whole project. So what you can do is take a piece, so we'll just pretend this one, and we'll just fold it in half. And I'm going to put a stitch marker roughly about the halfway point on either side. Okay, so let's just say I did that. And so now when I open it up, I can see about halfway along this side and halfway along that side, I have them marked. So if I join with the single crochet right here and then work an even number of single crochets to that point, and I want to make sure, one, that my single crochets make my fabric lay nice and flat. It doesn't pucker, it doesn't look like it's too much, it's the perfect even number. I want to count how many single crochets that is, and then I want to do that exact same number on the other side of my marker. See where I'm going with this? When I get to the corners, I prefer to do a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Okay, it's for all the corners. And then do the same thing along these edges. So once again, you would need markers, right? So you would fold it this way, put it about the halfway point, So when it opens up, you can single crochet the exact same number of here to right there, single, chain 1, single, same number, single, chain 1, single, same number, single, chain 1, single, and then join with the slip stitch to the first. Now at that point you can decide, okay, is that enough? Do I just need that one round, or should I do one more round? What you can do is at that point lay it down and see if it measures up really even to your blooming granny square. your blooming granny square is already a nice square, right? It already has a nice edging. I will say though that on this one, I went ahead and did a single crochet edging all the way around this square also, so that it would match up really nicely to these ones instead of having that chain one space. So I went ahead and went around this whole orange section with a single crochet myself. So when I match my basket weave up to my blooming granny square, if I had not done an extra round of single crochets, I would instantly know, you know what, I should probably do one more round of single crochets, and I could do that. Going around, and at this point, you don't have to worry about these stitch markers anymore, right? So you can take those off. You can remove them because we have all the stitches that we need, right? And you would just go making sure you did a single in each single crochet, and in the chain one corner, that's where you would do a single, chain one, single, and you would just create your 2 rounds of single crochet. You can do as many rounds of single crochet as you want around your blocks. It's totally up to you, however you want your finished project to look. You can also decide that you want to use a contrasting color or your main color as the trim around each block. Totally up to you. I personally like to do one round in the same color, at least the first round, and then maybe any subsequent round you have to do in your main color. So then your main color isn't bleeding into the color of the body of the stitch. Does that make sense? So if you choose to do this, you have options. 1, you can either leave it as is, don't do a border. 2, do a border and just do 1 round of single crochet with the same color as the square. Or 3, do a round of single crochet with your main color. Or 4, do a round of single crochet with the main color of the square, and then do another round, or do the single crochet around the square with the color of the square, and then do another round with the main color of the blanket. So there are lots of options here for you. And because this blanket really is yours and you have taken the time to really make it your own, this is another chance for you to use your design sensibilities and really make this project your own, okay? On the original, I did not edge my squares. Part of me wishes I would have, because it would make things a lot easier. I actually joined squares like this. And so I'm going to show you first how I seamed the squares up on the sample. And I did that with a slip stitch join, okay? So this is how you do a slip stitch join. The first thing you want to do is make sure that the right sides of your fabric of your 2 squares are facing you, okay? So I have my right sides facing me. And what I'm going to do is I want to match up right side to right side, okay? So I'm going to take my bobbles and I'm just going to fold it over and make it match up right side to the fan trellis. Now I'm going to use my trusty stitch markers yet again, and I'm going to find the corner of my bobble and the corner of my fan trellis, and I'm going to pin them together. What this is going to do, it's going to allow me to make sure that my edges, like I'm not getting too many stitches joined up down here, and it's not staying solid up here, right? Because I don't want that to happen. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that about midway down also. Once again, it's just to make the seaming easier for me, okay? So I'm just pinning it there just to make sure that I have the 2 parts of the square as even as possible. At this point, this is where I would turn it just so that I can get to this edge, because here's the 2 corners down here, and I would begin to work a slip stitch join with my crochet hook. So I'm going to grab my main color, because that's what I did on the original samples. I used my main color, which is not a color that is in either one of these, right? And I went ahead and I put my hook in the corner of one and into the corner of the next one. Now this is where it gets tricky, because you're kind of going into stitches or spaces. It totally is one of those things that you have to feel out, okay? I go in, yarn over, pull through my loop, and then yarn over and pull through. That's a slip stitch, right? And then I would go on doing the same thing all the way through. So I just went up a little bit of a section of the bobble, and I'm going into roughly the corresponding part of my fan trellis, yarning over, pull up, and pull through. If I continue going on, you can see right here, I'm sort of at, this is where it was my turning chain. So I can decide to either go into the stitches of my turning chain, okay? Just like I would if it was a foundation chain. And I'm butting up to a turning chain there, so I could do the same there. Instead of working into the big space, so I'm actually working into chains. And again, it's a little fiddly, but it's okay. I mean, it'll come out really nice and neat. As you keep working along, you just maneuver yourself down the row of both squares. Doesn't matter. This works for all of them. It doesn't have to just be the bobble and the fan trellis, you guys. I just chose these two because I had them complete, and two, because one is a solid and one is a lace. It kind of helps you see how they would join together. And I'm just joining them together with a slip stitch. Now you can see here, the slip stitch edge is showing up as V's on one side, and the opposite side, it's just the single. It's like the butt of the stitch that's looping it all together over there. But what does it look like on the right side? So let's open this up and see what it looks like over here. If we look down here, you can obviously see my gray yarn coming through, right? And that's if I pull it apart, right? I can see my gray yarn pretty nice. But if I kind of have it together, it's not as visible, but it's still a little visible. Is it secure? Absolutely. It's totally secure. So if this is a method you want to use, you can totally do that. But what if we want it to be a little bit more invisible? Let me show you how to do the mattress stitch join along the side edge, the rough edge of these two squares, okay? That's what we're going to do next. All right, so I showed you how to do a slip stitch join, which is the same as if you wanted to do a single crochet join. You would do it in the same manner. You would just complete single crochets instead of slip stitches. But what if we don't want our yarn to show through and we don't want to do slip stitches or single crochets? We want to go ahead and grab our tapestry needle and our yarn and thread it through like a mattress stitch. I'm going to show you how to do that now. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take out my markers that I had included before, okay? Because when we do the mattress stitch, we actually have the right sides of the fabric facing us the whole time, okay? So I have the right sides facing me. And what I have here is I have a bent tip steel needle, okay? And the reason I'm using a steel needle is because I feel like it really glides through the yarn really well, and the bent tip will allow me to get into the stitches easier than if I was using a plastic needle. I have a length of yarn here that I think is long enough to get me up the entire side of my square, and I've went ahead and I've threaded it onto my bent tip tapestry needle. Now I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly. The tapestry needle here has a nice wide eye opening, and if I take my yarn and I just pinch it around that eye, take the needle out and then just jimmy it back on through that, I can pull it through and it's just really easy to join, okay? So once that's joined onto my needle, I can go ahead and begin. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom of these two squares, and I want to start here at the corner of one and the corner of the other, and I'm going to join my yarn with a figure 8. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go into this. These are my turning chains of my bobble. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to pull it up, leaving a nice little tail that I can weave in. I always leave 4 to 6 inches. You guys know that by this point. So I'm coming over here to the corresponding corner and I'm pulling up a length of yarn. And then I'm going to go back over here where I came in before and do it one more time. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me the figure 8 that I need, okay? So all that has done is it has joined my yarn to the square so that it's not going anywhere else, okay? So for me, what I like to do is I put my hand, and you could do this right-handed or left-handed, it doesn't matter. Put whatever hand you're not using underneath the squares and kind of lift them up for you, making sure that they stay together, okay, along the way. If you want to use your stitch markers like before and pin the top corner together to make sure they don't go anywhere, you can totally do that, okay? So here I am, I'm pitching it up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my edge stitches, and I'm going to go into the stitch and I'm going to work through, whether it's a chain or a double crochet or a single crochet or a half double, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, okay? I'm going to work through the stitch. Now, as I say work through the stitch, I'm literally through the stitch. I'm working through like the whole post, and I'm coming up and I'm pulling my yarn up, okay? So I've pulled my yarn up. Now I go ahead and I go to the corresponding square and I do the same thing. And I work up the stitch or the chain, whatever it is, and you pull it up. And you try and keep them as even as possible and go in and out about the same space apart, okay? So over here, I'm coming back to this side and I'm gonna go in roughly where I came out and work up the side again. So I'm going up the side of the stitch and out, and then I pull it and I do the same thing to the corresponding side. I go in roughly where I came out, go up. This one I'm working up a nice little turning chain, come up and out. What this does is you can already start to see, you guys, that it is pulling these two edges together really nice, and I cannot see my gray yarn. Can you see that? It's virtually invisible, you guys. So it's a great way to seam without having the yarn show through, so you can use your main color even though it's not in either one of these squares, and it won't show. Is it secure? Heck yeah, it's secure, you guys. This is really, really super stable, okay? Because I'm going through the stitches. I'm going through an entire stitch and weaving yarn through it to join them together. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Now for me, I love this join. This is the one I would use. If you're not going to edge your squares and you want it to come together really nice and clean and crisp, this is the border, or this is the edging. Let me use the right word. This is the seaming I would use, and it's called the mattress stitch, okay? So I would do that all the way up. But what if you're at the tops and it's the nice clean edge that you're joining together? Because even if you don't border it around, there's going to be times you're matching up to nice clean edges. Let me show you how to do that too, okay? So we're going to do that next. All right, so we know how to do the mattress stitch, and we know how to do the slip stitch and the single crochet join. But what if we're gonna butt up the tops of our stitches, so the nice V's that come together? For that, I like to use what I call the lace up stitch seaming. So I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. This is also one that would be really beneficial to do if you decide to edge your entire project with a single crochet and then join or seam it up using one of these stitches. I would use the lace up stitch because I think it turns out really super pretty. So look down here, I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? As you look down here, you can see this is where we were when we began last time, right? We were seaming up the side raw edges. But now I'm going to pretend like we're seaming up the nice clean V edge up there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this way. Now, remember, we did block these and they did sink in just ever so slightly, which it'll be perfect because the weight of the fabric of the blanket itself, it will still make it really nice and neat. And what we want to do is we want to match up these V stitches here with these V stitches over here. Now to do so, all we're going to do is use what I call the lace up stitch. And knowing that we don't have the same number of V stitches over here as we have over here, it might be that we have to fudge a little along the way, where maybe we go through one stitch over here and then skip one over here and do the next one. It doesn't really matter as long as you don't have to do it too much and you don't have really big gaping holes. You just have to finagle it and fiddle with it a little bit along the way. But as long as that corner there matches up to that corner there, it will be beautiful. So you'll notice I just added my second stitch marker up there to match up the corners. And for this, I would like to use another stitch marker just to make sure that my center is going to match up with my center. So I make sure that it's not going to be too puckery on one side and not the other, right? So if I do that, I can say, all right, that's going to be pretty nice. So just like before, we're going to begin with a figure 8 join. And I'm going to remove that marker so that I can get in down here. And I'm going to put my yarn in this way. And I do always start with the right side. No particular reason why. I think it's just because I'm right-handed, but it doesn't really matter if you go with the right side or the left side, whichever way works. Just get your yarn joined on. If this was a project where you were using the tail of your yarn that was still attached, this would be a part that you wouldn't have to do, right? You wouldn't have to rejoin because it would already be joined. Now we can see here, as I fold these up like this, we have the V's on either side and they look really great. They actually look like they're really close to 1 for 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and going in through the back V, going into the back, coming up the front, I'm going to pull through. This is very much like lacing up a shoe, you guys. I'm going to come to the back V over here. I got to pinch it a little bit to see. It's right there, and come up and pull through. Again, I'm still using my main color. I'm not changing colors. If you wanted to change colors, you could, but this is going to be invisible, so it's not going to shine through at all. You're going to be just fine. I'm just going V for V. If I was moving along and maybe I thought that I need to skip a couple V's or skip a V, I mean, I could do that, no problem. Right here, you can see I haven't pulled it too tightly, but I'm going to go ahead and do it right now so you can see. I'm just pulling the yarn and it's snugging it up. Look at that. See how nice and neat that is? It's snugging it up really great. So it's just like lacing up a shoe, which is why I call it the lace up. Now I've heard it referred to as the mattress stitch or the woven stitch or a couple other things, but I just, because it looks like weaving up a shoe, and I used to work at Just for Feet when I was in college, I was like, you know what? I'm calling it the lace up stitch. So there you have it. This is a great way to join together the really nice clean edges of your squares. See that? See how nice and neat that is? The same thing applies if you wanted to do this on squares that you had edged. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to pull in those two little squares that I had edged out before, okay? Just to show you how that would work. So we have these two nice little squares, right? And we have all of these great edges all the way around because we did the single crochet all the way around. So we could do the nice little lace up stitch all the way, right? What would be really awesome is if I had them all ready to go, I line them up in the order I want them to go, and I just go lace up stitch all the way up to the corner and then continue on with this square and continue lacing up. So I could do that all the way up this one, all the way up this one, and then turn it and go across this way and then go across this way. You see what I mean? So if I'm using a length of yarn that is going to be my main color for these, and I thread it on just like I did before, wiggle it right on there, I would join down here at the corner, and I'm going right into the nice little single crochet that I have there, corresponding single crochet, and then figure 8, right? So I have to go up one more time. It's kind of hard for you guys to see, huh? So I'm just doing my figure 8 join, which you guys have already seen me do. And then I would carry on with my lace up. So I would go 1 for 1 all the way up. And you can see here, we're doing 1 for 1 with the nice single crochet edge on the side this time. So it doesn't have to be the top to the top, right? It looks really super nice to have it to the side. See that? See that nice join? Isn't that beautiful? All right, now you know how to seam your blocks together using 3 different methods. You can do the slip stitch or the single crochet. You can do the mattress stitch, which is what I recommend, or you can do the lace up stitch, which is also what I recommend for the tops of your squares if you have like a top matching to the top, or if you're going to do a single crochet edging around all of your blocks. It just comes together really beautifully, and it makes it so that your project doesn't look like it's like Edward Scissorhand kind of stitched together, right? It comes out really super clean and crisp, and you've put all this work into it. Why not make your joining look as just as beautiful as you can make it? After you've done all the seaming, we are ready for the border. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, the border is really intense. And I just totally feel strongly that it's completely worth it. That sounded kind of funny, didn't it? The border itself it's a lot of different stitches that you work into the blocks, but once you're all finished with it, it's just a really perfect complement to the entire piece. You can take a look at some of these sample blocks or sample blankets that were made by the testers of the Crochet Stitch Sampler Baby Blanket right over at marleybird.com. You can look at some of those and see if maybe you want to stick with the border that I'm suggesting or maybe do something of your own. Totally up to you because this is your blanket. I'm super thrilled that you guys are continuing on with this blanket and making it your own, and I'm excited to show you the border. Hope you enjoyed this video and you'll hit subscribe so you're up to date whenever there's a video release. Until then, please smash that like button right down there. Give it a thumbs up. Let people know that you enjoyed today's video, and tell other people, all your friends, about the Marley Bird YouTube channel where you can learn how to crochet and knit with Marley Bird. I'm here from redheart.com. Talk to you later. Bye.